it's one of these really unique things where it's one of these really special things where everyone in the world is affected, but everyone's affected completely differently.
Mm.
And there's other ways, like there's a hurricane, and like, yes, in a hurricane, like everyone in that area is affected, but not everyone else in the world is affected.
Right.
And it's like everyone's affected in their own special way. Like you go to like an alcoholics thing, like everyone's an alcoholic, but like it's like people are in different cycles of it, different timelines. Like everyone's on the same journey, but they're experiencing it so uniquely. So just be aware of that empathetic way to connect and reestablish relationships.
We are here because we know the outcomes in our lives are within our control. That taking absolute ownership of how we eat, sleep, train, think, and connect with each other is how we'll optimize our health and happiness. That chasing excellence is how we grab hold of what is possible. Our mission is to live on the run, always chasing, never stopping. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Chasing Excellence Lockdown Edition. How are you, Ben?
I'm good. Thanks, Pat.
Today we're going to return to our 3x3, which is I give you 3 ideas, 3 questions, and you give us your 3 hot takes on those questions. So today we're going to do 3 ways to assess mental toughness, 3 opportunities that you're pursuing during the lockdown, and then 3 important things to keep in mind that you're keeping in mind while you're reopening or while you're planning to reopen your gym. Cool.
Yeah, I dig it.
Start from the top. Do mental toughness.
Let's do it.
All right. 3 ways to assess mental toughness.
Go.
All
right. The first thing we have to do is kind of qualify like what is mental toughness, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions of it. And mental toughness is just what it's saying. It's not your ability to withstand pain. That is toughness. So when you step on a nail or you get injured in a game, or even when you like lose a loved one, honestly, like those things are like, that is not mental toughness. That is, in the first ones, it's toughness. And the next one, it's probably more like, it's something else. It's ability to get a grief or something else. But mental toughness to me is a little bit more about how do you, it's obviously it's the mental aspect. It's your ability to focus. It's your ability to not get distracted. It's ability to do the most important things that you set out to beforehand before something got in your way. So knowing that, I think we can start to dive into 3 of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one would be one that we talk about all the time on this podcast and everywhere is the amount of complaining you have. So if you complain a lot, that is a telltale sign you are not mentally tough, period. You basically are not taking ownership. You are spilling the blame somewhere else, and or you're focusing on things that you have no control over. Both of those things are lack of mental toughness. So said another way, you are mentally tough if you take ownership, if you take responsibility, and I don't use that word lightly, being able to respond to things, and you realize what those things are by what is in your circle of influence or circle of control, and you ignore the things that you do not have control over. When people focus on things outside their circle of control, or they don't take ownership, that manifests itself in complaining, whining, or excuses. So the first way I would assess your mental toughness is the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
If you're complaining, you are not mentally tough. That's number one.
Is that, have you found in your experience folks that do tend to complain, are they aware that what they're doing is complaining? And if so, how would you recommend folks at first get that first step of just hearing themselves so that they can then assess if they're doing it a lot, doing it a little bit, doing it less than they'd like?
No, people are horrible at self-assessing this.
Yeah.
Like horrific. It's kind of like when you ask people to self-assess themselves as drivers.
Yeah.
It's something like 80% of the U.S. population ranks themselves as an above average driver. Like that's impossible. 80% can't be above average.
Yep.
So people are terrible at assessing their ability as drivers, and they're terrible at assessing how much they complain. This really comes to one of the 3 driving principles that we have in our lives that we try to lean into here on this podcast, The first one, I think that above all else is awareness. Like you can't do much until you have awareness. So you really need to do is put everything that's coming out of your mouth through a filter. And basically the filter is this a complaint or not? And then people skew it by saying, I'm not complaining, I'm stating a fact. Well, you stating a fact doesn't necessitate it's whether it's complaining or not. If you go, it's so freaking cold out here, I'm so damn cold, this sucks, it's so cold. Like you're stating a fact. It's cold and it sucks. That's also complaining. Like because it's true doesn't negate it from being complaining. Like we're in last place. We haven't won 3 freaking games all year. That's true. That doesn't negate it from being complaining. People think that if it's true, for some reason, it's not complaining. That has nothing to do with it. They are not mutually exclusive. They can be together in the same vein. So what you need to do is literally put yourself through every single filter, which is, am I highlighting something that is negative? And if I am I then following that up with a way to learn or make this better? If you are doing those things, it's not complaining. So it is so freaking cold out here. Next time I'm going to bring a jacket. Cool. Like, I don't know if I that's probably on the gray area of complaining or not.
Yeah.
You know, that's
but
cool.
It's moving in the right direction.
It's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's so freaking cold out here. What a great chance for me to practice my Wim Hof breathing. That is not complaining at all. You are making awareness of the fact that it's cold and then using it as an opportunity. So it's what you do with this statement. If you do it in a whining manner to try to draw attention to negative things you have no control over, it is so freaking cold out here. It's freezing. It's like 22 degrees and somehow it's 20 degrees and still raining. I don't even know how that's possible, but it's happening. Like that's complaining.
Yeah.
Like take ownership, spin it in a direction that's going to help you either learn or be better from this because it's now an opportunity. So complaining, number 1 by far and away, and that should be, in my mind, the driving principle of like almost everyone's life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Number 2.
A little more tactical maybe, because complaining is tough, but this one pops up and people are good at assessing this one. Your discipline with establishing new habits. So I am going to do nothing but eat salads with protein on it for 7 days straight. Okay, like if you're mentally tough, you can commit to that. But what happens is, because again, remember what I said in the beginning, it's about focus and not getting distracted. But what happens is people get distracted by the temptation of the steak and cheese. They get distracted by the temptation of the boredom. They get distracted by the temptation of the missing the sweet taste on their tongue. They get distracted by the temptation of giving into short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term gains. Mentally tough people withstand short-term pain for the benefit of long-term gain. This is why mentally tough people work harder, commit to things, have better discipline, work harder, all this. What they're giving up is Netflix. What they're giving up is the cookies. What they're giving up is the snooze alarm. What they're giving up is lazy Sunday afternoons. Instead, what they're doing is they're committing to a practice of discipline. I just think that, we've talked about this before, but a disciplined life is a happy life. And switch out happy, because happy kind of sucks. The word when you search for happy, the less like you are to find it. Happy is like, if I say like, Patrick, let's try to be happy today. That's like me saying like, Patrick, like laugh right now. Like you can't be told or try to like get there. It happens as a side effect of you doing things that fulfill you. So fulfillment could certainly be really hard things. In fact, it probably is more in line with really hard things. Well, to do really hard things takes grit, tenacity, fortitude, and mental toughness.
Got it. Number 3.
Anxiety. Do you let things spin in your head and flip over and over and over again? Or can you take control of your thoughts? So this is literally like anxiety. All anxiety is you hanging out in the basically your brain has a couple different areas to it. It's the amygdala or the lizard brain. It's a prefrontal cortex or the calculated logical brain where you can make decisions. Your body will send you into two different kind of like systems. It's going to either your nervous system. You'll either be in the rest and digest or the fight or flight. The rest and the digest is called the parasympathetic nervous system, where you're calm, you're relaxed, you're calculated, really thoughtful, and make good decisions. In the fight or flight, it's all reactionary. You have no control kind of over. It's your animal instincts are taking over. Well, in difficult situations, your body loves to kind of have that feeling brain, that amygdala take over. It loves to be in the fight or flight. That's a hormonal response. It's embedded inside of you. If you don't work to get yourself out of that, you're going to sit in there and spin forever. And that's what anxiety is. It's literally anxiety. You don't have control of your thoughts, and you spin from one to the next, to the next, to the next, never actually grasping, holding on one, and IDSing it, identifying, discussing it, and solving it in your own head. That's an EOS business term. But the idea is pull yourself from this freak out mode into the calculated mind. And this is what people don't realize. Unless you have mental illness, which is a chemical imbalance, that you have control over this. Now there's tools that you can use to do it. And this is why people say, like, why don't you sleep on it? Why don't you go get some space? Because you're freaking out right now. Well, why don't we get some space and like, maybe let's talk about this tomorrow. And then every culture has some form of like, let's sleep on it. When I was learning about this, the French, there was a French person on the panel, and she actually says, like, we have it, the term is like sleep with it. And the British guy, like, of course it is. Like, the French sleep with their problems. She's like, I've slept with a lot of problems. But the idea behind this is like, pull yourself out of the spinning, the rat wheel. That's actually what's happening is you're not even spinning on one rat wheel. You're spinning on one. The next thing, you're off the rat wheel, and now you're like doing whack-a-mole. Then from whack-a-mole, you jump in this ball pit that you're drowning in. Then the next thing, you don't even know you're in the next one before you're even on it.
Yeah.
So you have no time to kind of sit and figure things out. What you need to do is get out of that by either sleeping on it, getting some space, or this is what meditation is breathe. Like, breathing pulls you out of the sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic. It allows you to relax and get control over your thoughts, and whether that's meditation, journaling, gratitude, stillness, going for a walk in the woods. Like, there's so many different methodologies and so many different tools that you can use to pull yourself away from this. But the idea is, if you feel anxiety, that is a surefire sign that you need to work on your mental toughness. And mental toughness, it sounds weird a little bit because mental toughness seems to be associated with like sports or grit or dealing with pain. Realize it's about focus. That's what mental toughness is your ability to focus.
Hey, Harley.
I got Harley sitting in my lap right now.
Okay.
She's in her deer outfit.
Love it. We'll keep going. Okay, so that was 3 ways to assess mental toughness: complaining, discipline with new habits, and recognizing where anxiety is kind of spinning you out. Next one, 3 opportunities you're pursuing during the lockdown.
Okay. 3 things during lockdown that I'm pursuing. Okay, the first one, I posted this on my social media really early on and made a public commitment because I knew if I didn't, I would not commit to it. But it's improving my mobility, and my pass fail on that is being able to do a split of some sort, whether that's I don't even know what it's called, a straddle the pancake, where you like feet go wide, butt on the ground, and you lay your chest down in between, or it's maybe it's called a straddle split, where you're a hurdle, like one leg out in front and the other leg back behind you, or a standing go down, feet go wide out to the side.
Yep.
So I've been working on this. I've been working on it a lot. This is me not being a good student, but me being a little overzealous. I was stretching a little north of 2 hours a day to try to get this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm less flexible now than I was before because I think I like strained muscles, ligaments, tendons, something.
Oh, no.
So I've kind of chilled it out a little bit. I've started doing Go Wad, which is really phenomenal. I'm not a part of the business at all. I have nothing to do with the business whatsoever. Um, I'm really impressed.
Cool.
It's really cool. It's a slick app, super easy to use. And I'm seeing so much. You get to choose like 8 minutes, 15 minutes, or 22 minutes.
Yep.
You can choose what's right for you or a specific thing. I go between what's specific for me and lower body. And it's sticky. Like I'm not good at apps. You know me with technology.
Yeah.
Like literally before, just a disclosure, like before setting up this podcast, it took us like 30 minutes for me to be able to figure out how to. We've done this how many times? I only have like 3 apps on my phone, period.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a 3x3.
There you go.
But I'm a fan. Like it's cool. It's working.
When you were overzealous, were you just kind of winging it and doing it on your own and no plan and
no plan, no whatsoever. Let's stretch. And me is like, it's like weightlifting. Like if you want to get stronger, like lift heavier. So I was like pushing my stretches. Like they were hard. And I would wake up the next morning so sore, like more sore than like the first time I did Karen. Like I was so sore. And I realized now why I was sore. It's like I was pulling muscles.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're back on the right track with that. Okay. So splits. What's the next opportunity?
Teaching my kids about finance. So
older kids, I assume.
Yes. So I have 4 kids. I have one just turned 20 last month. So when this started, she was 19. Yep. And I have a 16-year-old, and I got 2 little ones, 7 and 5. So with the and maybe I have another one. I have a 27-year-old one that is a cat, a very fit cat that lives in our basement.
Yep.
That goes to the CrossFit Games a lot. So actually, including Kat, we've been talking about finances. Now, I am not a finance guru. I am not a finance whiz whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I have some I'm smart enough to know that I don't know much, and I surrounded myself with some smart people that can help guide me.
Yep.
And the biggest one there is my dad. I grew up with a dad that we talked about money at the dinner table. So it set me up for a better path than maybe I would have been otherwise.
Yep.
So I started off by, when this whole thing happened, talking to the kids about what will happen. What is a economic recession? What is a bear market? What is the stock market? What influences stock prices? What is the market? What is the S&P 500? What is the Dow? From there, we started turning into some monetary policies. So when the government infuses money into the economy, where's that coming from? How is it being created? What is the economic implications in terms of inflation? And they were eating it up, eating it up. So then I recommended that I made them a deal. If they read 2 books, one was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is kind of the first finance book that I read. It's really base level, like this is what money can do for you, or this is why you think money is evil, and why people have a hard time getting ahead. And then the next one was Tony Robbins' book, Unshakable, which is really 101 investing. Basically, don't try to outsmart the market, pay low fees, invest in indices. Once they read those 2 things, if they did that, I set them up with an investment account that I funded with a very small amount that they now have complete control over, and they can start playing with the market. So when they do things, they had to write out kind of like investment principles. So this is what I think about what I will be doing. So not kind of like doing what everyone else does. Not everyone else. That's a bad term. What a lot of people do that get themselves caught up is like emotional investing and kind of
day trading, basically.
Day trading. So Maya ate it up. Maya read the 2 books in under a week and is now on this way above my pay grade. She's on The Intelligent Investor, which is basically what Warren Buffett read to become, I don't say become Warren Buffett, but it's his, what he attributes to his most influential stuff. And it is thick. It is dense. It is way above my understanding or my interest in the market, but I'm very impressed. Jonah is still on Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
So he hasn't, and Katrin read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Katrin read Unshakable.
I read Unshakable at your recommendation too. Yep.
I did not fund Katrin's though. She does not, that is not something she needs.
Okay. I did help
her though. I did help her like, with some ideas in terms of like Rich Dad Poor Dad, if people haven't read it, the premise is there's assets and liabilities. And what most people do is they buy liabilities thinking that they're buying assets. They buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
And a home is a liability. Definition of a liability is it costs you money.
Yep.
It costs you money every single year to own your home. Definition of asset is it makes you money.
Yep.
So what the premise is, rich people buy assets, poor people buy liabilities.
Yep.
And so what happens is these athletes, I'm not saying Katrin, but these athletes get a little more money and they buy the Range Rover.
Mm-hmm.
No, if Katrin does own a Range Rover. So that's that's not a poke at her. Maybe it is. And they get a little more money and they buy the big house. They get a little more money and they take a vacation. They get a little more money. And whereas look at like what Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, what they're buying into businesses. Yeah. They're buying businesses. It's amazing. Like LeBron James owns a production company. Tom Brady, TB12, and I forget what the other one is, but it's a production company.
Yep.
The Rock owns a production company. $7.
Yep.
It's there are people that are doing this really well, and there are people that 10 years after retirement have nothing.
Yeah.
There's a stat about lottery winners that I think it's somewhere like around 10 years or something, they're back to square one if they take the lump sum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think 50 Cent was one of the first kind of celebrities to buy into a company or trade his whatever sponsorship for equity. It was in vitamin water and it made him a ton of money, but he also lost all of it. So he's an interesting
like Dr.
dichotomy.
Dre, right? Dr. Dre with Beats. Like Dr. Dre's the first billion. You don't like, I love what these, like, there's a few people that are like, when they're, I'm not talking like, the enlightened athletes are like, I'm still getting the paycheck. Like there's somebody like 9 levels ahead of me that's paying me to do this. What did they do to get there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's basically like the Rich Dad Poor Dad thing is like, you continue to work, like be an employee and that's fine. But bust your ass and then the money that you get like invested into assets.
Got it. Okay. That's 2. What's the third opportunity?
I've been with the little extra free time. I'm not coaching the 8:30 class every day. I'm coaching. We have a 7:30 class now that I coach twice a week. I also have had a little bit extra. I don't want to say free time because it's been directly reinvested into this next thing. Is I've used this as an opportunity to maybe double down, maybe even triple down on my own personal professional development. So me as a coach for elite athletes, I've always had a little bit of I felt really good about getting people fit in the CrossFit space. Felt really good about getting people stretching them out and getting better endurance, and even kind of working on the gymnastics guy but the strength thing has eluded me for a little bit. So I've actually spent upwards of about between an hour and 3 hours a day learning about how the Chinese weightlifting team is doing what they're doing.
Got it.
So I've always kind of pushed into all these other like I've researched Louis Simmons, I've researched Ripto, I've researched a bunch of different Russian periodization programming, and I really, really like, and I've been able to find a lot on the Chinese weightlifting team. And basically what they've done is they've taken the best practices of the Russian methodology and the Bulgarian methodology and spun it their own way. And obviously they're producing world champions and Olympic gold medalists left and right. Yes. And part of that goes to, they get these kids at 7 years old and, that's yes, absolutely 100%. But their methodology also translates so well to what we do as CrossFit athletes.
I never heard that.
It's really, really cool. They don't do set progressions. Mm-hmm. They don't do like wave training. They don't do a lot of that type of stuff. And the accessory work they do looks like the accessory work we do in CrossFits. They do dips. They do handstand push-ups. They do Romanian deadlifts. They do weighted back extensions. I mean, it's like all the stuff It's just that I really like the two things, the discipline yet autonomy that they bring to each of to their athletic development.
Yep.
Very, very, very disciplined structure, but they give the athlete a lot of ownership and say in what they do.
Two follow-ups. One, if folks are interested, do you have a resource or two that you would point people towards to learn more about what you're learning, or is it just kind of like a hodgepodge of things you're
it's a hodgepodge, but the easy place is I start off by watching YouTube.
Yep.
And I start off by obviously what you see what they do at the World Championships and Olympics on the platform. And that's cool, but I could kind of care less about that.
Yep.
You've seen people set world records and stuff. There's so much footage of there's like a 20-minute highlight reel of watching one person do their training session. Mm-hmm. So in a 20-minute highlight reel, these lifts take 3 to 5 seconds.
Yep.
So you're getting the whole training session. So you basically there's footage of these entire training sessions. And then from there, dig into some blogs and some research and some mm-hmm. forums, and you can pretty quickly. There's also a lot of crap out there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can really quickly kind of, you can really quickly kind of piece these things together.
Second follow-up, because you kind of alluded to it. Do you think in the near or far future we're going to see some very high-level CrossFit Games athletes coming out of China? Given that,
so there is one female that was a high-level Olympic lifter that is transitioning to CrossFit, and she was the and I only know it's not because of CrossFit, because I was watching the videos, and she was in the videos, and it's so funny. This is like she was doing cleans, and she's doing it. I'm like, wow, those cleans look a lot more like CrossFit cleans.
Interesting, yeah.
It's weird. Like, why does that look like what we do? And then I actually saw it on Instagram feed, and below it was like, it talked about her. This is whatever her name is, CrossFit Chinese weightlifting team member making the transition to CrossFit. She was the national champion. ...
Really cool. Before we move on, one of the answers that I thought you were going to give in this was that you took advantage by demoing your dining room. Didn't you guys knock down a wall at some point in this quarantine?
Oh yeah, yes, we knocked down a wall. Yeah, demoing. Yeah, by demoing. When you said demoing,
not demo. Yeah, sorry.
I like showing, like
no,
demonstrating.
No.
Demolishing.
Sorry. Demolishing.
Yeah.
Yes.
We knocked down. So we had plans to redo our kitchen. The economic downturn and what's happening with the businesses, we can't do that. So instead of paying somebody a lot of money to renovate our kitchen, we knocked down the wall. Literally, Heather, the two older kids, Katrin, and myself spent a weekend. And in a weekend, I am the least handy person, and Heather's pretty darn handy. Yeah. Katrin is not. But together, we knocked down the wall between our kitchen and our living room.
Yep.
Now, the reason we were able to do that is because we had plans to do this professionally. Yep. So we had an engineer come in, we had the architect, we had the builder, the contractor. So we knew what we could do. We didn't just knock walls down. But we ran into some hiccups. There was some piping in the wall that nobody knew about. We did have to call them. And so it wasn't for free because we needed to have them come in and move some pipes.
Yeah. And then did you guys finish it, or did you just knock it down and then brought some folks in?
It's not finished. I mean, it's our ceiling has like drywall, like patch without it even it's a different color right now. So if you look, you see it, but if you don't look, you still might see it.
All right, cool. Last of our 3x3 today is 3 important things to keep in mind when reopening your gym, which up here in Maine where I am, they were able to start doing some outdoor classes Monday. I know it's different where you are in Mass, but so everybody's kind of at a different speed, at a different spot. But a lot of people are at least able to see when this is happening. So curious your thoughts on, what you guys are thinking about for whenever that happens, and any advice you've got for those who are already embarking on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do this in the way that I think that because it's what everyone would talk about, like run small classes, keep 6 feet apart, get hand sanitizers everywhere, make sure you clean, put up notice it, read people's temp. I'm not none of that stuff. Yep. So that stuff's going to be everywhere. I'm going to give more specific, unique to our space and our affiliates. The first one's programming considerations.
Yeah.
So the majority of your members have not been doing classic CrossFit, barbells and gymnastics. They're probably doing a lot of dumbbells and jump rope and maybe some running outside and a heck of a lot of burpees.
Yep.
So what you don't want to do in this environment is go, okay, guys, we're back. Let's do grace and see how we're doing.
Yep.
Like, I get it. People are excited to use the barbell, but you don't want to set people up for this massive letdown, right? So like you do grace and 99% of the, you have 100 members and 99 of them are off by 30 seconds.
Yep.
Like they're probably going to be. Their fitness might be better, but you're setting them up for failure if you do that.
Yep.
I would recommend the flip side of that is to what to do to speak to where they are is they want to start working with barbells for sure. They want to get back on a rower because they haven't been on a rower in so long. What they don't want to do is more of what they have been doing. Don't program in day one, 400-meter run, 21 burpees, and 30 double unders. Like, oh my God, we have just been doing this for X number of months. Give them what they want, but set them up for success. Instead of Grace or Fran or Isabel or DT, which they're going to get smushed, do something like AMRAP 12 of 12 calorie row, 12 thrusters, 95 pounds. Like everybody's kind of jazzed up to be doing that. It's going to hurt so bad. No one has a score. It's like that's setting people up for success a little bit and what they'd be excited about. So
got it.
My first one is basically setting people up for an enjoyable experience and realize that they want to be doing stuff they haven't been doing, but don't set them up for something that they're going to go like, oh my God, I'm so unfit. This is terrible. What happened?
Right.
Yep.
Got it. Number 2.
Second one is basically has to go with like your relationships with people. And this isn't like a systemized thing of like send everyone a thank you card for showing back up to the gym. This isn't like an outreach to try to get members back into the gym or a marketing ploy. This is more like understanding, and this has not almost, if you back up, this almost has nothing to do with opening a gym. This is just as we come out of this and we start socializing with people more. Yep. Recognize that everyone dealt with this in a very, very unique way. And try to be empathetic and learn where they are. Because if you speak to people the way you dealt with this, you might not be connecting with people very well. If you saw this as a vacation and like you got like it was phenomenal and you actually partied the whole time, but somebody else got laid off, had a family member get sick and was in a coma, or had some sort of like other, we know people that are getting divorced right now. We know people we have friends that have died. We have other friends that have lost their jobs. Realize where you are. Now, if you're one of those people that you had a lot of adversity, a lot of trouble with this situation, don't bring your hatred for this or your struggles to someone else because they might have had that. So just realize that everyone's experience is an incredibly some people see this as a massive political thing.
Yep.
Other people are completely unaware of the political implications of what's going on. Some people were on the front lines, like helping people and haven't seen their families in months.
Yeah.
Other people haven't left their families in months. So it's one of these really unique things where it's one of these really special things where everyone in the world is affected, but everyone's affected completely differently. And there's other ways, like there's a hurricane and like, yes, in a hurricane, like everyone in that area is affected. But not everyone else in the world is affected.
Right.
And it's like, everyone's affected their own special way. Like you go to like an alcoholics thing, like everyone's an alcoholic, but like, it's like people are in different cycles of it, different timelines. Like everyone's on the same journey, but they're experiencing it so, so uniquely. So just be aware of that empathetic way to connect and reestablish relationships.
Definitely. Number 3.
I see this as an opportunity to fix things and restart.
Yeah.
'What a lot of coaches, in professional sports have a hard time doing is as they learn and develop themselves, they have a hard time resetting the culture of the team.
Yeah.
Because culture is like a cruise ship. It takes a long time to turn it around. So even though they're learning this new stuff and they see the issues, they can't spin it. This is a chance to restart almost anything, to restart your culture, to restart certain policies, procedures, expectations, job descriptions,
pricing,
anything that you want to do. Basically, you can look at pricing, class schedule, roles and responsibilities of coaches, your role in the business. Basically, you can take everything that you've learned over the X number of years of being an entrepreneur and start fresh and anew. How many people get that opportunity? Like, what you normally need to do is try to turn the cruise ship around, like these tiny little slow changes that over time, maybe years, you hope kind of manifest themselves.
Yeah.
You get to kind of come back into this thing day one with a new head of steam and a new direction if you so want to. And it's basically like, zero cost budgeting. Like, there's nothing, basically traditional budgeting is like, how much do we spend on marketing? How much do we spend on equipment? How much do we spend on events last year? Okay, what should we do this year?
Mm-hmm.
Zero cost is like, scratch all that. Yep. There are no sacred cows. There is no legacy. What is the best thing we should be doing going forward? Yep. And go. Like, there's nothing holding you back anymore. There is no, you can do anything you want.
Yep.
So I see this as a massive, Bill Belichick, taking all the lessons, or even better, because he was kind of successful in Cleveland. Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll was the football coach of the New England Patriots, and struggled. Barely a playoff team, ups and down years. Well, he took what he learned there and went to USC. And because he had this fresh start, he could completely, and became national champion at USC. And he learned what he did there and reinvented a culture again with the Seahawks. And those fresh chances, or Nick Saban. Nick Saban, yeah, he was successful, but every time he went somewhere, he had a new fresh start that he could start this thing again. We're not going anywhere. It's still your business, but you get a new fresh start. Yep. Huge opportunity.
Yep. Love it. All right. That was 3 ways to assess mental toughness, 3 opportunities that you are pursuing, and 3 important things to keep in mind when reopening your gym. Thank you, Ben. We'll see everybody next week. You can get every episode of Chasing Excellence wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Until next time, thank you for listening.